The phone call that shattered 2 decades of silence came on a Tuesday afternoon when Patrick Reeves was watering his tomatoes and not thinking about the son who hadn't called him Dad since he was 15. His cell phone lit up with a number he didn't recognize, the Korean Adoption Reunion Service.
Patrick speaking.
Mr. Reeves, this is Diane Park from the Korean Adoption Reunion Service. I am calling because your son, Tyler Reeves, has filed a request to locate his biological mother.
Patrick's grip on the phone tightened. He had known this day might come, but not like this, not without warning, not without him being ready.
Protocol requires that we contact the adoptive parent first, as you hold the original sealed court records. Would you be willing to share those?
Of course. I'll cooperate fully. When do you need them?
He hung up and stood still for a long moment, the afternoon sun suddenly feeling colder. Then he walked to his study. In the back of his study, behind theology books and old sermon notes, sat a manila envelope he hadn't touched in 25 years.
For 20 years, I've been the villain in his story. Maybe it's time he learns the truth.
The resentment had its roots in a night when Tyler was 15, cornering Patrick with clenched fists and wet eyes.
You stole me from my real family. You made me American, and never even asked.
Patrick tried to explain the court battles, the sealed records, but Tyler wasn't listening. He was already walking away. The door slammed shut, and for the next 15 years, their conversations were polite, brief, and empty. Now, with the manila envelope heavy in his hand, Patrick sat in his study and dialed Tyler's number.
Hello, Patrick.
Tyler, the adoption agency, contacted me. They need the sealed records for your reunion request.
So just mail them. I don't see why this requires a conversation.
There are things you need to see, Tyler. Things I should have explained years ago. Meet me at the agency tomorrow at 10.
The line went quiet. Then a single flat word, fine, and the call ended. Patrick grabbed his keys, tucked the envelope under his arm, and walked out to his car. The adoption agency sat under a gray sky, and 2 cars pulled into the lot minutes apart. Neither father nor son looked at the other.
Thank you both for coming. I'll take you to the interview room.
He looks older. Smaller. Or maybe I'm just finally seeing him clearly.
This envelope has been locked in my study for 25 years. I never thought I'd open it again.
He pulled out yellowed court documents bearing red Korean seals and a photograph of a dark-eyed baby with a name written in Hangul.
Is that me? What does it say?
It says, Hyun-woo, bright and brave. I spent 18 months in Korean courts to bring you home, and I made sure your mother's name stayed on every document.
Why? If she gave me up, why did you fight so hard?
That answer isn't mine to give, Tyler. It belongs to your mother. We need to call her.
Diane quietly opened a laptop and began setting up the video call. Tyler stared at the baby photo, his jaw tight. The video call couldn't be scheduled for another week. Tyler spent the first night at his kitchen table with the documents spread out, coffee, long cold.
18 months. He fought for me for 18 months, and I never knew.
You've been sitting here for hours. What are you thinking?
I don't know, Sarah. For the first time, I'm wondering if I've been wrong about him.
In his study, Patrick opened a dusty box of letters from a Korean social worker named Soo-jin Han. Pastor Reeves, the child is healthy now, but the mother has been located. She is very young and very afraid. Late that night, Tyler's phone lit up with a text. Was it worth it? Fighting for me when I made it so hard. Patrick's reply came before Tyler could put the phone down. Every single day, the morning of the call, Tyler arrived at the agency before anyone else. He sat alone at the table, staring at the closed laptop.
Whatever happens in there, I am not leaving until I know the truth.
Patrick arrived and took the seat beside Tyler without a word. Diane clicked the call button, and a ringing tone filled the room. The screen flickered, and there she was, a woman with tired eyes and graying hair pulled back, sitting in a small, harsh-lit office in Busan.
Miss Kim, this is Tyler Reeves and his adoptive father, Patrick, thank you for agreeing to speak with them.
Hyun Woo, her voice cracked. You are so grown. I have looked at your baby picture every day. I named you Bright and Brave, and I prayed you would become that. I did not want to give you up. I never wanted to.
Then why? If you didn't want to, why did I end up in an orphanage?
I was 19. There were men who took me from the countryside. I had no family, no money. They told me my baby would die if I kept him.
Patrick sat motionless in the background, tears slipping down his cheeks, but he did not interrupt. This was her story to tell.
This can't be real. She didn't abandon me. She was taken. Everything I believed is wrong.
The video call had barely begun, and already the ground beneath Tyler's feet was breaking apart. Mia's words came in broken fragments, each one a shard of a past she had buried for 30 years.
They took me to Seoul when I was 17. They locked me in a room with other girls. I had no way out. When I became pregnant, they beat me. I gave birth alone. They told me my baby would die if I kept him.
Patrick could stay silent no longer. He leaned toward the screen, his voice trembling.
I found her file in 1990. I saw what they did to her. That's why I fought through 3 levels of Korean court to adopt you.
You knew? About the trafficking? About what they did to me?
I made sure your name stayed on every legal document, so he would always know his mother was Mia Kim, not a number.
Tyler stood, crossed the room, and wrapped his arms around Patrick in an embrace that lasted only seconds before he pulled back, gasping. He stumbled out of the room, phone already ringing Sarah. He needed air. He needed her voice.
I spent 20 years hating the wrong person, and now I don't know who I am.
Tyler came home and shut down. For 3 days he held Lily, fed her, changed her, and said almost nothing.
You've barely spoken since you came home. I am here, Tyler. Whatever you are feeling, you don't have to carry it alone.
I was so wrong about him, Sarah. For 20 years, I blamed him for something he never did.
A quiet email from Patrick arrived that evening, nothing more than a few lines on a screen. Tyler, I am here when you are ready. No rush, no expectations. I just need you to know that I love you and I always have.
He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't defend himself. He just waited.
That night, after putting Lily to sleep, Tyler sat on the floor beside Sarah and finally said what he had been circling for days.
I need to see her, Sarah. In person. I need to bring Lily. She's my mother. She deserves to meet her granddaughter.
Then we'll go. All of us. I'll start looking at flights tonight.
I am going to meet the woman who named me Bright and Brave, and somehow that feels like the first true thing I've done in years.
The next morning, Patrick's landline rang. Tyler's voice was steady on the other end.
We booked the flights, Patrick. To Busan. Sarah, Lily, me. We leave in 2 weeks.
I want to pay for them. Please. It's the least I can do after everything.
That's generous, but I have to ask you, will you come with us?
This one isn't mine to be in, Tyler. You need to meet your mother. Just you and your family.
Patrick hung up quietly and walked to his study. He wrote a check for the full amount and sealed it in an envelope. Before sealing it, he slipped a small handwritten note inside, his hand trembling slightly. The note read, "For Hyun-woo's bright bravery, love, Patrick." A week later, the envelope arrived at Tyler's apartment. He opened it at the kitchen table, the tickets and passport already laid out.
He paid for it all and then stepped aside. He's still doing what he did 25 years ago, loving me without needing anything in return.
The morning of the flight, Tyler strapped Lily into her carrier and looked at Sarah. This was the first day of the rest of his life.
Somewhere over the Pacific, he thought of Patrick's note, for Hyun-woo's bright bravery. He was living that now.
The customs gate slid open, and there she stood, Mia, holding a small wildflower bouquet, trembling in the arrivals hall.
Hyun-woo, I have waited my whole life to say your name again. I have prayed to see your face.
Tyler crossed the distance and folded her into his arms. No words, just a mother and son holding on for 30 years' worth of absence.
This is Lily, your granddaughter, and this is my wife, Sarah.
Mia gathered the baby into her arms, her tears falling onto Lily's tiny blanket. She whispered something in Korean that needed no translation. The next day, they visited the textile mill where Mia had worked for 20 years. The hum of machines drowned out the silence she had kept for decades.
She's been cooking since dawn. I've never seen someone so determined to feed us.
As Mia flipped through the photo album, Tyler saw his reflection in her smile. For the first time, he understood where he came from.
The morning of their departure, Mia met them at the hotel with a small paper-wrapped package in her trembling hands.
This is all I had. A nurse took it when you were 3 weeks old and gave it to me before they took you away.
She handed it to him. The faded photograph showed a newborn with dark, serious eyes wrapped in a thin white cloth.
I will keep this forever, and I will bring Lily back to see you again.
Bring her, and bring Patrick too, please. I want to thank him myself.
At the airport, Mia held Tyler's face in both hands and whispered a Korean blessing that needed no translation. On the plane, Tyler sat with the 2 photographs, Mia's faded newborn shot and Patrick's yellowed agency photo.
2 parents, 2 acts of love, and he had wasted 20 years seeing only one.
He pulled out a pen and turned over Patrick's photo, writing carefully on the blank back,
To my father, who fought for me when I couldn't. He tucked both photos into his carry-on and closed his eyes.
Tyler didn't call. He drove straight from the airport to Patrick's house and, when the door opened, he simply placed the framed photograph into the old man's hands. Patrick stared at the 4 faces smiling at him from behind the glass. Himself, Tyler, Mia, tiny Lily. His hands began to shake.
To my father, who fought for me when I couldn't.
Tears spilled down Patrick's cheeks. He looked up, unable to speak.
Dad. The word came out rough, unfamiliar, like a language he'd forgotten he knew.
Patrick stepped forward and pulled his son into his arms. They held on, decades of silence dissolving. When they parted, Patrick walked to his study, Tyler following. He set the frame on his desk, right next to his worn Bible.
I never stopped praying for this day.
Tyler sat down across from him, and for the first time in 15 years, they talked. Not as accuser and accused, but as father and son. Outside, the evening sun caught the glass of the frame, and Patrick Reeves knew with a certainty deeper than any sermon that his son had finally come home. That evening, Patrick sat alone in his study, the house quiet around him. He picked up his worn Bible out of habit, then set it down, his gaze settling on the photograph beside it. 4 faces smiled at him, his son, his granddaughter, and the woman who had trusted him with her child. He touched the frame, and a deep peace settled in his chest. Outside, the sky deepened to amber, and he could hear the faint rustle of his tomato plants in the garden. He had been watering them when the call came that started all of this. Now they seemed a testament to patience. A text buzzed on his phone. Tyler, Mia says hello. She wants to see your tomatoes someday.
He smiled, typed a reply, and set the phone down beside the photo.
The silence in the room was no longer empty, it was full, and that, he reflected, was the sound of a family made whole. A week later, Tyler pulled into Patrick's driveway with Lily in the back seat and Sarah beside him.
Come in, come in. I made lemonade, the kind with the real sugar, not that powdered stuff.
Lily immediately crawled toward the bookshelves, and Patrick scooped her up, settling into his armchair.
She knows her grandpa already. She's been reaching for your photo.
Tyler pulled out a small old photo, the one Patrick had given him decades ago, and placed it on the coffee table between them.
I used to look at this and feel nothing but anger. Now it's the most important thing I own.
It took me a long time to understand that love doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes it looks like stepping back.
He looked at his son, at the granddaughter, in his arms, and felt the weight of years finally lift.
Mia sent a video this morning. She's learning to use her smartphone just to send us pictures of the mill.
The afternoon passed in easy conversation, and when they finally left, Patrick stood at the door watching the car disappear, knowing they would be back soon. A month later, Patrick sat at his desk and wrote a letter he had been composing in his heart for 30 years. It was addressed to Mia Kim, and he wrote it in English, knowing she would have a friend. Translate: Dear Mia, you gave me your greatest treasure, and I did my best to honor it. Now I am giving him back to you, not to lose, but to share. Our son is a good man. He sealed the envelope and placed a stamp with a small Korean flower on it, a gift from Tyler. He drove to the post office and mailed it, feeling lighter than he had in years. A few weeks later, a video arrived. Mia stood in front of her textile mill, holding the letter and crying.
Patrick, sis, you are a father to me too. Thank you for raising my son.
Patrick watched the video at his desk, the same desk where the photo now lived. He touched the frame gently, the four faces smiling back at him.
We are all connected now, and that is enough.
A week later, Tyler received a call that threw his carefully settled world off balance.
A multinational textile firm wants me to oversee a new facility in Busan. They said my Korean background and the connection to Mia made me the perfect candidate.
That's incredible, Tyler. But it means we'd need to move. For how long?
At least a year. We'd be close to Mia. Lily could grow up knowing her. But what about Patrick?
That evening, Tyler called Patrick, his voice carrying both hope and guilt.
Tyler, this is a gift. You've been given a chance to connect your two worlds. I won't stand in the way.
But I just got you back, Dad. I can't leave you alone.
You've never been alone. And this time, we'll have video calls every Sunday. Besides, I have my tomatoes to keep me company.
Sarah watched Tyler hang up, his jaw set with the weight of a decision that would test the new bonds they had only just cemented.
1 year away, or a lifetime of wondering. He had to choose.
3 days later, Tyler printed his acceptance letter, signed it, and scanned it into his laptop.
It's done. We move in 6 weeks. I told them I need that time to say goodbye properly.
We'll make them count, Tyler. Every dinner, every Sunday with Patrick, we'll give Lily memories.
That Sunday, they had dinner at Patrick's. Tyler broke the news over pot roast.
I accepted, Dad. We leave in 6 weeks for Busan. I'll be running the new plant.
I am proud of you. So proud. And I am not going to cry. So pass the salt before I do.
The weeks that followed were a blur of packing, paperwork, and small, sacred moments. Lily learned to say Grandpa, and Patrick recorded it on his phone, watching it every night. On departure day, Patrick drove them to the airport. At the security gate, he stopped and pulled Tyler into a long embrace.
This isn't goodbye, Hyunwoo. It's just until Sunday's video call. Go make me proud, son.
They boarded the plane, Lily already asleep. Tyler held Sarah's hand as the jet lifted into the clouds. The air in Busan was thick with summer and the scent of the sea. Mia was waiting at the curb, a bigger bouquet this time.
We're really here, Mom. This is our home now.
Come, come. I have your apartment ready. I am just 2 floors down.
The apartment was modest, but the window overlooked the textile mill and the green hills beyond. That Sunday, at precisely 9 a.m., the tablet lit up. Patrick's face appeared, grinning through the pixels.
You made it. Lily's already twice as big. How is that possible?
She's already babbling in Korean. Mia's been teaching her.
He's really okay. And yet, a year feels like an ocean in more ways than one.
But he looked at Sarah, at Lily reaching for the screen, and knew they were exactly where they needed to be. A year passed. Tyler's contract turned permanent, and they bought a small house with a garden. Sundays with Patrick were sacred.
Dad, we have a spare bedroom. Come see us. Mia wants to cook for you.
Patrick's hands trembled as he booked the ticket. He hadn't flown overseas in 25 years. The arrival's gate slid open, and there stood Mia, holding a bouquet of wildflowers, just as she had for Tyler.
Patrick sigh. Thank you for coming. Thank you for my son.
Thank you for his life, for his brightness, for his bravery.
Tyler watched them, the two people who had shaped his existence, finally in the same frame. That evening, they set the table together, Korean dishes and a pot roast, 4 generations under one roof. Before he left, Tyler handed Patrick a new framed photo, the 5 of them, Sarah included, laughing in the garden. Patrick placed it on his desk beside the old one. 2 photos, 1 family. The silence was now a song. A month after Patrick returned to the States, he sat on his porch in the warm evening, the garden rustling with life he'd planted years ago.
2 years ago, I thought I'd lost him forever. Now I have 2 homes, one here and one 6,000 miles away.
His tablet buzzed with a video call. Mia's face appeared, the familiar hum of the textile mill behind her.
Patrick Ceci, Tyler taught me to make your pot roast. We saved a plate for you in the freezer.
I'll be back next spring. Save me a seat at the table.
Tyler appeared behind Mia, Lily on his hip, all 3 of them waving at the screen, their laughter filling both rooms. After the call, Patrick sat in his study, a yellowed letter from his Bible falling open. It was Mia's first note after the adoption. I prayed my son would find a father. I think God sent him you. He closed the Bible, touched the 2 photo frames, and for a long moment just sat there, full and still. The love that started with a courtroom fight across an ocean had come full circle, and it was more than he had ever dared to hope. A year later, Patrick stood in his garden, the evening light catching the silver in his hair. He had just hung up from his Sunday call.
Lily called me Grandpa again. She showed me a tomato she grew herself.
A message buzzed. Tyler had sent a photo of Mia holding a bowl of pot roast, both of them laughing. The caption read, "Your kitchen is international now." Patrick sat in his study, the 2 framed photos on the desk, catching the last light. He picked up the original one, the 4 faces still beaming.
He finally understood my choice. Not just the choice I made to fight for him, but the choice I made to let go.
He set the frame down gently, then opened his Bible to a verse he had underlined long ago. I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. The words had never felt more true. Every lost year had been returned 100-fold. Outside, the garden rustled with the sound of ripening tomatoes, and somewhere across an ocean, a little girl was watering her own. The following Sunday, Patrick answered his tablet to find all 4 of them crammed into the frame, holding a sign, "We love you, Dad." He didn't bother to hide his tears. The silence that once held resentment now held nothing but music. The evening settled softly around him, the kind of quiet that comes after a long, hard journey. He stood in the garden, the tomato plants heavy with fruit, and looked up at the stars just beginning to show. It was nearly midnight in Busan, but he knew they'd be sleeping, Lily with her stuffed tomato, Mia in the apartment 2 floors down. They were family now, a truth that needed no paperwork, no courtroom, no translation. He went inside, past the 2 photos on his desk, and stopped at the old one. Hyun-woo, bright and brave. He traced the names with his finger, Mia Kim, Tyler Reeves, Lily, and his own. Patrick Reeves, father. The word that had been absent for so long now rested in the house like a flame. He didn't need to say anything more. The photo said it all. He turned out the light, and the house hummed with the silence of a family made whole. Some fathers build with words, Patrick Reeves built with silence. And in the end, it was loud enough to be heard across an ocean. The next morning, Patrick woke before dawn as he always did, the habit of decades. He walked into the garden while the dew was still fresh. The tomatoes were ripe, and he picked 3, one for him, one for the photo, and one to mail, impossibly, to Busan. He set the small fruit on his desk beside the 2 frames, a fleeting offering to the family that had crossed an ocean to find him. He didn't need to call or text. The silence between them was no longer empty, but filled with trust, with memory, with a future. He had learned the hardest lesson of fatherhood, that sometimes to keep a child, You must let them go. And in letting go, they return. The garden grew. The calls came every Sunday. The photos multiplied on his desk, becoming a gallery of grace. And somewhere in Busan, a little girl learned to water tomatoes, her great-grandchild humming a Korean lullaby she'd heard on a Sunday call. Patrick Reeves didn't need to see it to believe it. He had waited 20 years for the truth to be told. Now he simply lived it. On his last day, whenever that would be, the photo on his desk would still be there. 4 faces, 1 story, and a love that refused to be silenced. Some fathers build with words. Patrick Reeves built with silence, and in the end, it was loud enough to be heard across an ocean.